Hello and welcome to Relate, Relax, Release. I'm your host, Aji, and in this episode, I want to talk to you about the dangers of saying yes when you mean no, and how that can lead to soul fragmentation, which is like an abandonment of self, a lot of fracture in energy between your physical experience and what your inner voice is telling you, and how that can create and foster an environment of living in learned helplessness. My question to you, think on it. Have you learned to be hopeless or helpless? And we're going to get into that. And by the end of this, I will give you some really useful tools on how to integrate healing in the awareness of all of these things. So if this is your first time here, welcome in. And I'm really ecstatic to have you on a journey of self-exploration, holding space for lived experiences and lived truths, and also finding a way to heal through it, not just through doing things, but just in being seen and just in holding awareness for yourself and shortcomings as well as victories. So buckle up, grab a cup of tea, whatever resonates with you. Let's get into it. So as a collective, we are kind of being triggered and being invited to have an experience and understanding of what it is to live an experience of almost self-abandonment, right? In the world at large, there's a lot of themes that are going on that trigger that sense of helplessness and trigger that sense of choices that could have been made to create a different outcome, but just not really honoring the true essence of self because that honoring hasn't been prioritized and the voices haven't been utilized at maximum capacity, highest alignment. We are living experiences that we least prefer. And that's as a collective, especially if you're in the United States. There's like a lot of polarity going on right now. And a lot of us are having to live as a consequence of everyone not collaborating to create the best choice in alignment with the greater good. We don't need to get into all of the things that are happening. For one, I really do not consume the things outside of my existence of grounding, healing, and expanding my life force energy and my creativity and trying to be in alignment to call in my soul family and then my soul clients, as in the clients that I love working with in Relate, Relax, Release. And if you didn't know, now you know, I also provide life coaching and spiritual guidance. So if you've been feeling like you need a sounding board, please reach out. I am expanding it. You will see a lot more of my face. In order to not digress, let me come back to my point. It's really just an opportunity to see how as a collective we have been experiencing this danger of saying yes to things when we really mean no, and how we're being called to consume less and create more. Even as an individual, as an artist, or whatever it is that you have going on, consume less, create more of the reality in which you would love to see. As a collective, create less choices that are at detriment to the collective and to the greater good and to mankind at large, and create more choices that would be in alignment with truth, harmony, and love. And so as we explore this theme of self-betrayal, I want to ask you and invite you to just take a moment and just take a quick snapshot of your day today. And don't feel attacked because this is something we all do. But how many times do you abandon yourself and say yes to something when you really want to say no? How many times have you people pleased? How many times have you gone to a space, place, interact with a person, or done a thing that you really have wanted to say no to, but you've almost felt forced to say yes to? And that can be speaking to someone, that can be being in a relationship, that can be going to a job that you don't like anymore. So many times, or so many things, I should say. How many times a day do you go against that inner no and you still have to say yes? How many times? Because that over time, collectively, and being forced to live in that perpetual state of fight, flight, freeze, those autonomic responses in a state of stress, because every time that you say yes when you mean no, you simply put your body into stress and you dysregulate yourself a bit because you're not honoring the true essence of what you really want and need. And your wants and needs should be prioritized and you're allowed to have them. But I know that the society and the matrix that we live in, we're conditioned to go outside of ourselves and we're conditioned to serve a greater purpose or do a job or go to a thing and be with a person because we think that that's what's expected of us. But this is a permission slip to full body scan, full life scan, full mind scan, and come back into the essence of you and think about areas where maybe you have been creating more resistance and friction, where you can start easily, even just having an awareness for, oh, actually, I feel that I want to say no. What can I do about that? And then ask God, take it higher, remembering that the illusion is the separation and thinking that you have to make all the decisions by yourself. But when you want to say no and you don't know how to orchestrate it, those are the little moments where you can just be like, oh, God, Allah, universe, whatever it is that resonates with you, can you help me honor the truth of myself? Even if it's not in this moment, I'm holding awareness for the fact that actually I would like to say no. And I don't know how I can get my no to be truth and still honor the reality that I'm in. But then having that awareness, things will start to shift. So that's the first thing. Just be cognizant of how many times you say yes when you really want to say no. And you should be allowed to say no. In fact, get comfortable saying no, because you've got to start honoring boundaries. I know it's something that I had to do. And as we briefly went over, well, actually in depth went over in the episode about overcoming the good girl complex, and for me, how I realized that not honoring my no meant that I opened up myself to having all these friends or acquaintances, I should say, and energetic draws. And no, I didn't even think it was in alignment with my highest. I just thought that that was what I needed to do because I was looking at the state of the world and I was thinking, okay, well, I know the truth of my being and I know the truth of like how I want to exist and who I am, but I just see the world and I'm like, I don't see a space for me. And instead of me believing that I can create that for myself, I said, okay, let me just break myself down and fit into the mold and just like say a bunch of yeses when I really want to say no, and like live the life that I think I should be living because I don't know how to honor my truth. So if you're there, trust me, I understand. This is a space where it's actually safe to just understand like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I've been saying yes way too much and I've built a little bit of resentment and frustration around that, because the more that you disregard your truth and don't honor it, the more frustrated, burnt out, tired, exhausted that you feel. And again, that just creates friction in your life and creates soul fragmentation, because the true essence of who you are, the true soul being, the breath that is within you, knows exactly what you need to be doing, where you need to be creating, where you need to be resting, where you need to be fostering more elation, joy, bliss, ease, and where you need to say no in order to honor those truths. The fragmentation part comes in when that true essence being that knows is at odds with your shadow self and with your over-actualizing ego that's trying to protect you and trying to do the things in order to fit into society. Because remember, your ego is designed to protect you, to show up in the world the way that it thinks it's best to do that in order for you to have the basic needs of a human being, which is safety, community, and just like your day-to-day living things. So your ego's job is like, okay, we need safety in having a community. You can't be rejected from the pack. And so I'm going to make sure that you assimilate and fit in. That's what your ego's job is. But your soul doesn't care about any of that stuff. Your soul doesn't care if the next person likes you, because your soul knows that God loves you. And so you create fragmentation when you aren't honoring that true voice because your ego is like pulling you into trying to fit in. And I lived in that state for a very, very long time. Trust me. I still was myself though. Like I look back, I've been doing a lot of like deep diving and like really, really soothing and honoring my inner child to like work through the lifeline and like really clear out a lot of the trauma. And it's just been so interesting because there was always so many glimmers of like my soul's true essence. Like I was in a school play and no one told me to make my costume, but I made my own costume. And I used to wear purple stripes in my hair. I used to have red stripes in my hair. LOL, I'm wearing literally the exact color of red that I'm wearing right now. I used to have like clip-in extensions of red in my hair. And I just honored the truth of who I was. I didn't care about fitting in. But then my ego was like, OMG, we're getting rejected. We're not fitting in. We need to survive, right? Remember, your ego is really designed around survival. And so my ego overrode my soul's essence during that period of time. Also being a teenager, that's just normal. But the more that I had that experience of letting my ego take over and drive the bus, it created learned helplessness because I had collected so many experiences that disempowered the truth of who I am and like my free, not caring, expressive self. And so I invite you to look over your life and think about the most innocent, pure version of you and what they truly cared about and honored. Were they into painting? Were they into making bracelets? Did they like roller skating? Were they a horse rider? Did they like swimming? Video games? Like, what is it that truly brings so much passion into who you are as a being? And try and honor that. Try and honor that a little bit more, because if you live according to the matrix, it will tell you have no time, you have no space to create and live and learn and explore and expand and call into action the expansion of your life force energy. Because I know, for one, I do work incredibly hard and I'm really trying to shift out of that and just actually live in a state of ease, which is so doable. So please come along with the journey with me on that. Think about how you can honor the truth of ease in your life and joy and elation and excitement, and get really specific. Get really specific with it. Because if I lived according to the matrix, I wouldn't have time to go horse riding. I wouldn't have time to do my hair and get glam and do the things that actually fill me with life. Why do I love getting glammed and being cute, which I hadn't done in like too long for me? Because I enjoy beauty as a vibration, not just an external thing, but I really enjoy the process and the honoring and sacred time of myself and putting on the music and like really generating that creative force. It's not just about looking cute, but beauty as a vibrational state. And if that resonates with you, then I really call you to honor that. Go wash your hair, blow dry it, get a fade if you're a guy. Listen to music and honor the creative process of that, of transforming yourself, of honoring yourself and lifting yourself up a little bit. And to just remember that that constant cycle of yes when you mean no creates those tiny micro fragmentations, and over time it becomes bigger. And another aspect of learned helplessness and soul fragmentation is really staying and living in a state of emotions that connect you to a past trauma, and living in that state creates a mood, and that mood creates an energetic vibration and an imprint. And I was there. I used to really struggle, obviously, with the darkest parts of my minds. We don't struggle anymore. We kind of have a really great and fun relationship now, where I understand a lot more of the intricacies of my mind and like what it's trying to create or pull my attention to love on. But anyways, I digress, because I didn't used to always have that tool. And so I lived in a state of not understanding it, and then therefore judging it, and then therefore being frustrated and resistant to everything. Living in that perpetual state of a mood, which is a vibration, a large, very big egregore type of energy. And all that happens when you put yourself in a mood state or vibration, you lower your vibration, you just are so negative to yourself, and then therefore all that happens is you call in characters, you call in chaos, you call in lived experiences, you call in environments, spaces, places, and things to mimic and mirror what your internal state is. So you got to be very aware of allowing your emotions to emote and flow out of you, rather than having your emotion and believing it and labeling it a capital T as truth instead of a little t as baby truth, and let it flow through. But when you label your emotions capital T and you anchor yourself into it, you do get stuck there. And that creates disharmony, and that creates a disempowerment in yourself, which makes you live in learned helplessness. And that experience of living in a learned helplessness, it leads you to stop trying to change your circumstances, and you simply just live in survival, because you have conditioned yourself, because of your lived experience and because of your moods, and anchoring yourself and reliving the things that have been negative or that have bothered you or have caused frustration or resentment. Because you've anchored yourself in that capital T truth, you are going to keep experiencing it, and you're just going to be burnt out, and you're going to feel like, what's the point in trying? Because every time I try, it's like I'm back to square one. So if that's your mindset right now, totally sending you love, totally honoring that experience, totally telling you I've been there. It doesn't always have to take time to get through it, but it also is unique to your certain circumstances. And I highly encourage you to get support to get through it. I highly encourage you to get a life coach or a therapist or a space that empowers you truly, a community of friends that you truly can lean on that actually support you to grow. Another huge expansion of honoring your no is surrounding yourself by people who also activate your safety, your empowerment of mind, or your empowerment spiritually. And anyone who isn't adding, who isn't elaborating on your life purpose or your peace or your happiness just becomes a side character. Focus on how you can keep honoring your no's, right? Really important, because you, especially as a woman, and not even just as a woman, just as a human in today's society, but as a woman also, where you're constantly being pushed to say yes and constantly being pushed and overridden by society in honoring your space, your mind, and your body. Literally, the society tells us we can't honor our body. So it's very important for you to have a great relationship with your nose. And so the healing aspect of this is really simple. As I've said already, getting comfortable with your no is the number one part of healing this. You can spend a lot of time in meditation and really visualize the highest version of yourself and ask yourself, okay, my highest self is in existence. It's just in a different energetic state because I'm just vibrating at this state, and that future version of me is vibrating at a different state of which I haven't unlocked yet. So then therefore, all you have to do is ask yourself, that version of me that is vibrating at that state, what would he or she be doing, saying, living, breathing, and experiencing that I'm not yet? And how can I visualize and honor that as truth and then therefore get there? For example, when I was grieving, when I was miserable, when I was just down in the dumps and I had so much physical illnesses, like I had a blood clot in my shoulder. I wasn't able to bend my wrist, really move my arm because I was lashing full time, and I was like really depressed because I was just grieving and I was living in a state of misery. I was listening to true crime podcasts back to back to back, and I was literally feeding and festering off of the darkness. I had a blood clot in my shoulder because it was like my literal life force wasn't able to flow through my body. I had migraines constantly. I had lower back pain because I was lashing, but also just not using my core strength. I was in that state and I just knew this is not my soul at its highest capacity and my highest expansion. I was in a relationship that was mirroring that state. Honestly, I still have so much love and compassion for that person to this day, but we were mirroring each other's trauma and lived experience of existing in grief. And that was the only person that I felt understood me so immensely. And I still treasure those experiences, but I had to look at my life and be like, I don't want to exist in a state of grief. I don't want to have all of these physical diseases, and I haven't even listed all of the other ones, but the physical amount of pain that I was in, and I was getting injections in my back from my doctor. I was going to acupuncture. I was doing all of the things, but my literal existence and my aura was gray. Like I literally existed in grayness, in misery, and I just walked around and I hated everything. I hated life. I was so over it. I was like, all that happens to me is bad things, because I was believing that. I was allowing my lived experience to dictate my lived experience. And so the most important thing that you can do, if you can relate to any of that and you just felt miserable and over it and you feel like you're attracting bad things, is just stillness. Switch up the environment. I did that, not in the best capacity. Like I ran off, I went to Lagos and just enjoyed my life and like did the things, but there was so much blessing in that, also in that journey, in bringing me back to the truth of who I am. But switch up your environment at whatever capacity you can. Stop consuming more misery. And then visualize that higher self, and then keep asking yourself high quality questions. Okay, what is the truth of that essence of me that I see? And then ask for clarity. Take it a existence that is higher than you. You know who it is. And just keep grounding yourself in the truth of the now instead of the past. Because what I was doing was I was living in the past, and I needed to anchor myself in the truth, and I needed to anchor myself in the highest order of what it is to live in truth. Harmony, oneness, love, elation, excitement. And I needed to learn self-compassion instead of being mean to myself, like, oh my gosh, you low-key are not doing what you need to be doing. You need to, and having all of these non-existent expectations and judging my choices, like, oh my God, you should have made this choice, should have made that choice. Clear it out. And remember, less consumption which will lead to comparison, doubt, or just absorbing negativity and more creation. I just started creating a routine. I started including more things that I loved. I made vision boards. I understood I really loved going to solid core. I really loved working out. I need more of that in my life. Can I give it back to other people? I just changed my thinking. I also got support. I have a coach. And so I really encourage you to do the same. And it was a process. It's a journey, and it's an ever evolving road. So be nice to yourself, learn self-compassion, visualize, manifest vision boards, anchoring in truth that is of love and light, not anchoring truth of darkness, depression, low vibe, and pain. Do not shame yourself. And even remember, even in the darkness, you are whole and complete, because all you are here to do is, as a soul, you also said to God, I commit and I surrender to you and all of your creations. And in living this experience, I honor the fact that darkness exists, and you have bestowed upon me the grace and glory to experience it and then still alchemize and choose to come back to the light. That is what God wants. God knew that there was darkness, and he spoke and let there be light. Anytime you are in the darkness, do not condemn yourself. Do not shame yourself. Do not talk down on yourself. Love yourself, experience the experience, and use your mind, your gift of thinking and feeling, and connect the two. Yes, your feelings are real, even if they're miserable ones, and then ask them what they're trying to teach you. Take those feelings up to your mind and ask for the wisdom to alchemize those feelings, and then use your thinking to have a real solution and a path forward. Don't feel your feelings, condemn yourself, shame yourself, say that you're not doing enough, and let your mind run endlessly in overthinking. Don't do that. And if you're doing that, I'm literally sending you an energetic hug, because I know exactly what that feels like. And I have full body chills. So I pray that this touches you in your soul, and I pray that you feel seen in that experience. You are not crazy. There is nothing wrong with you. And if you've had this like never ending loop of self-shame and depression and just overthinking, I see you and I feel you, and I'm just holding space for you for a moment. You need to remember who you are. You need to remember who you are. Who you are, truly. Because I can remember also in those lowest potential timelines when I used to hear that question, like, you need to know who you are. I was like, who am I? I mean, I know who I am. Like, on a logical level, do not use logic. Know who you are on a soul essence. I had to learn myself on a soul essence. I had to literally write down, and I mean pages and pages and pages, and asking God, tell me the truth of who I am, remind me, and pages of who you are. And that is going to help you honor those no's and wipe out the yeses when you don't mean them, and honor your yeses when you do mean them, and be brave enough to say your yes when you mean yes. Learn to write out your dreams and your wishes, like truly writing on paper, pen and paper. Let's take it back now, not just your phone, pen and paper, and write out the truth of who you are, so that you can honor it, and so that you can move out of the darkest parts of your mind and your body, because your body also is telling you, it's signaling to you when you're not honoring your no. You might be inflamed. You might have gut issues. You might have pain in your wrists, pain in your feet, pain in your mind, like migraines, back pain, all of these, overweight. All of these are signals to you to come within. Listen to it. If I can help you in any way, please email me. I am not a therapist. I am not a fixer of everything, but I am a support tool that you can use as someone who has literally walked that fire and reincarnated as a phoenix rising. Email me, support@relaterelaxrelease.com, and I'm happy to open a new chapter with you if you require it. I would love to be of service to you and really just give you a sounding board, like I've said, but so much more than that. I just don't get into the depths of it. A lot of my clients, honestly, I'm going to follow up them because they need to give me testimonials so that you can have a little bit more of an insight. But a lot of my clients just really enjoy having a space in which they really truly feel seen. And so if you're looking for that, it is going to be a major community. I'm just letting you know this now because I'm also speaking it over us, Relate, Relax, Releasers. I want to give our community a name, and I'm thinking maybe the releasers, because a major part of what Relate, Relax, Release embodies is just the journey of how do you get to the part where you are released. How do you get to the part where you are released from your lowest potential, released from the darkness, released from the heaviness, released from the physical pain? And I'm just so excited because I'm just so excited. I don't even need a reason. Normalize not needing a reason. Normalize being excited because you are alive. Normalize being excited because God created you and created everything, and that you're living in harmony and truth and oneness on some aspects, and all of the other aspects where you aren't, you are getting there through releasing. And on that note, I think honestly, I will end it here. And I'm just so excited for no reason, honestly. I'm not going to lie, I was tired earlier this week. There's a lot of energy from the lunar eclipse, and now we're going into a solar eclipse. But I am excited. It just feels like an end. I've been seeing 999 a lot. So if 999 resonates with you, 999 signifies the ending of cycles. And so I'm sending you lots of angel numbers, alignments. If you've been seeing 111, 444, 999, this is your confirmation. And yeah, on that, I love you, and I hope to see you on another episode. Bye.